Chapter 4 Shadowland. "How did you become such a daredevil?" Julia asked Maya. "My mother warned me about these events. My father taught me how to defend myself. What should I have done? Sit still? Anyhow, these knives were my father's, a present, before he left." "What father gives his daughter knives as a gift?" Haru said. "You said he left?" Julia followed up. "Me and my mother, when I was about 8. Never seen him since." "I'm sorry for you," Drake said. "Oh well, we don't know if it was on purpose. We're not sure what happened to him or where he is. Mom says she can sometimes feel his presence, and she experiences visions of him, doing great things, she says. I'm not sure if that's to come from me, though." "I hope you get to see him again," Julia said. "Maybe the action draws him here," Drake said. "Haha, it might," Maya answered. Before they took a train, they sat down to decipher the next part of the riddle. Drake started reading the next part out loud. "Their next destination is not with the man who created it all, but his shadow-casting son who would never fall." "Well, that one is extremely obvious," Julia said. "Yeah, we figured out that one too, but just not the destination," Maya said. "It's talking about Jesus, right?" Haru said. "I think so," Julia said. "Though that doesn't make things easier," Drake said. "What country or city is known for Jesus?" Haru asked. "Lots of them," Drake said. "And the shadow casting part?" Maya asked. "Why would Jesus be casting—" "Of course," Julia suddenly realized. "Rio de Janeiro, the statue of Jesus, so high up, casting a shadow upon the city. That's genius," Drake said. "Well, not really, it just makes sense," Julia answered. "But how are we going to get there?" Haru asked. "That won't be a problem," Julia said as she showed her brother's wallet. "For a plane? 4 children and 4 dwarves?" Drake pointed out. "Well, you've got a point." "Don't worry, we've prepared for most of it," Maya said. "Care to stop by my house?" "Oh, all right then. Where to?" Drake asked. "This way," Maya replied. "So why did we go to the station again?" Haru asked as they left. "Psst. What's Jesus?" Lawrence asked Chop, but neither he nor the other dwarves had a single clue. "We're here. Shoot, forgot my keys when I left." The door suddenly opened. "I predicted you'd forget your keys," Ilana said. "Or you saw them lying on the dinner table," Herdala replied. "Haha, or that. Welcome, everyone. Please come inside." They entered Ilana's house and Maya led them to the backyard. "That's quite the backyard," Haru said when he noticed how big it was. "One of the preparations," Maya replied. "And see that platform? The one with the big H on it?" "It's a helicopter platform," Drake pointed out. "Indeed. Now, I just have to call the pilot." "You really are prepared for everything," Julia said. Maya smiled and went inside. She grabbed the phone and pressed a few buttons. The phone was answered very quickly. "Hello? Hey, it's Maya." "Maya, is it time?" "Yep, it's time. You available?" "Of course I am. I'll be right there." "Good, thank you. Oh, and don't forget the helicopter." "Still humorous. See you soon." "See ya." The call was ended and Maya put down the phone. "Now, all we have to do is wait. Don't worry, you'll be here shortly." After a very few minutes, the pilot arrived. A helicopter came descending from the sky and landed on the platform in the backyard. "Good luck," Ilana spoke. "Maya?" "Yes, Mom?" "Be careful." "Of course. Bye." They headed for the helicopter and all entered. The helicopter was designed to carry many people, but the 4 dwarves weren't exactly accounted for. They were the unfortunate ones to be given the 3 seats they had to share with the 4 of them. It wasn't exactly comfortable. While they sat in the back, Drake, Haru, and Julia took a seat in the middle row, while Maya took the seat next to the pilot. The pilot started shouting to try and be audible despite the loud noise of the helicopter wings. "Don't worry, this baby is designed to carry heavy weights and travel huge distances. It could go around the world in mere hours and by getting gas only once or twice. Impressive, isn't it? Everyone ready? Hold on to your butts." The helicopter ascended and took off. Ilana watched as they disappeared out of sight. The pilot had already got the permission to cross borders with his helicopter. Maya really did prepare for everything. They could go freely to any place where help was needed. Many hours passed. With a few short breaks and endless amounts of water and a little bit of land, they finally saw the border of South America. Eventually, Rio de Janeiro. They flew right past the mountain where the statue of Jesus was located. "We're at the right place," Drake shouted to try and be audible. "I can see the portal on the back of the mountain." The pilot looked for a roof that he could land on, not too far from the statue. When the helicopter landed, they could finally stretch their legs. Drake walked to the side of the roof and looked down. "It's quiet," Drake said. "Good, perhaps we're early," Haru said. "We've gone without sleep for far too long." The dwarves were carrying tents and travel equipment that they still had on them before they left Dragonia. When everything was set up, they tried to get some rest. After all, it had been more than a day of fighting, traveling, and many worries. Silent sounds awoke everyone in a heartbeat. People started screaming, and as they ran out of their tents and looked down on the streets, they noticed the streets had turned into a battlefield. No army had yet arrived at the scene. "Good luck, everyone," the pilot said. "I'll wait here." They left the roof of the building by opening a hatch and following stairs to the main floor of the building. When they went outside, they were facing monstrous creatures once again. The monsters in Rio de Janeiro were mainly trolls, giant spiders, and even giants. The monsters attacking the city were bigger than the usual monsters normally attacking. "We have to find a way to get to the mountain," Drake shouted. As they made their way through the battlefield, taking out spiders and trolls along the way, the feet of giants blocked their path. They weren't alone, though. Grown men and women were trying to defend their city with mere sticks and planks. After life-threatening minutes of running and dodging, they finally made it to the foot of the mountain. "Time to climb," Maya said. But suddenly, boulders started falling down the mountain. From behind the mountain, something appeared. A gigantic human-like monster was holding onto a statue. The giant was covered in black cloth and was holding a sword that seemed to be a metallic piece from some construction. "I suppose that's got to be the fellow we're taking down," Drake said. "I'm afraid so," Julia replied. The giant roared with a deafening frequency. "The giant has to be from Ent," Duzel pointed out. "Ent?" Drake said. "A land far from Dragonia." The giant came running down the mountain, and as soon as it reached the foot of the mountain, it swung its arm towards Drake. He managed to dodge it in time, but the giant kept focusing solely on Drake. "This is bad. What do we do against something like that?" Julia asked worriedly. Suddenly, they heard gunshots, thinking that the army arrived, but the truth was that a strong, muscular man arrived at the scene and tried to take down the giant with his guns. It had absolutely no effect, and the man ran away again. "What the hell was that?" Julia asked, confused. "Well, that was useful," Maya said sarcastically. The giant swung his sword, but Drake managed to duck in time. The giant's size didn't help his accuracy. "Wait, where is Haru?" Drake suddenly noticed. "There," Julia said as she pointed towards the mountain. Haru had snuck in between the legs of the giant and started climbing the mountain. "Haru, what the hell are you doing?" Julia yelled loudly. "Leave this to me," he replied. While the others distracted the giant, which wasn't very hard because it was focusing on Drake all the time, Haru kept climbing. It took him a while to get to the top of the stairs and to the statue. "Hey!" Haru shouted loudly. No one could hear him except for the giant. The giant started focusing on Haru, who was easier to get to. The giant started climbing the mountain with his hands and feet and spent only seconds climbing to the top. At the foot of the mountain, the muscular man appeared again. "I'm back," he yelled. The man had switched his pistols into a rocket launcher. "No!" Drake yelled, but the man ignored him and fired a rocket. The giant received a huge blow when the rocket exploded on his back. The knockback made him crash into the bottom of the statue. The statue broke and it started capsizing. The giant roared angrily as the statue fell on top of him. It fell down the mountain, taking the giant with it. "Haru!" Drake yelled. Everyone tried to get away from the danger coming their way. Lawrence was closest to the arm of the statue coming down at him. "Lawrence!" Drake managed to get to him in time and push him sideways. They rolled over the ground as they dodged the arm. "Thank you, my friend," Lawrence said. The giant crashed and was flattened by the statue. It did not survive the impact. Even though the defender was defeated, Haru was nowhere to be seen. "Haru?" Julia said while starting to despair. Everyone started running to the top of the mountain. When they reached the portal, they saw that it was shrinking. They could see a forest with tall trees on the other end of the portal. They were still unsure where Haru was and hoped that they would find him at the top of the mountain, but they didn't. Instead, he showed himself by stepping out of the portal. "Hey, everything all right?" Haru said nonchalantly as the portal closed behind him. "Really?" Drake said, surprised. "I thought it'd be the best place to hide when everything came raining down." "Not a great place, though. Giants everywhere." "I'm glad you are okay." "Of course I am. You know me. Now, where's that numbskull who fired a bloody bazooka while I was doing good things?" "I think he bailed again," Maya said. "Never mind then. I want to go. In a few minutes the police or army will be here to ask why we knocked that statue off their mountain." "I think the giant will give away what happened. Don't worry," Drake said. The rest of the monsters were taken down when the army finally arrived. Drake and the others helped, of course. Rio de Janeiro had lost many people during the fight, and some were heavily wounded and needed to be attended to. When the battle was over, all the wounded were in good hands and the deceased were carried away. There was no reason for them to stay. They headed back to the building that the helicopter was located on. The city that always lived in the shadow of a positive Holy Spirit had lost their shadow that day. That day became known as the day of the shadow of the giant, the day they lost something very dear. The land covered in a holy shadow was mourning for what happened that day. It was the day the land lost their shadow, yet because of that dark day, became a shadowland.